Ottawa is the capital of Canada. It stands on the south bank of the Ottawa River in the eastern portion of southern Ontario. Ottawa borders Gatineau, Quebec. The two form the core of the Ottawa-Gatineau Census metropolitan area and the National Capital Region. The 2011 census reported a population of 883,391 within the city, making it the fourth largest city in Canada, and 1,236,324 within the CMA, making it the fourth largest CMA in Canada. The City of Ottawa has since estimated it had a population of 951,727 in 2014. Founded in 1826 as B-Town, and incorporated as Ottawa in 1855, the city has evolved into a political and technological centre of Canada. Its original boundaries were expanded through numerous minor annexations and were ultimately replaced by a new city incorporation and major amalgamation in 2001, which significantly increased its land area. The city is among the most educated in Canada, with several post-secondary, research, and cultural institutions. Ottawa has a high standard of living and low unemployment. It ranks second out of 150 in the gnome Quality of Life Index, 14th out of 221 in the Mercer Quality of Living Survey, and it contains a UNESCO World Heritage Site. History. With the draining of the Champlain Sea around 10,000 years ago, the Ottawa Valley became habitable. The area was used for wild edible harvesting, hunting, fishing, trade, travel, and camps for over 6,500 years by local populations. The Ottawa River Valley has archaeological sites with arrowheads, pottery, and stone tools. The area has three major rivers that meet, making it an important trade and travel area for thousands of years. The Algonquins called the Ottawa River Kitchissippi or Kitchissippi, meaning Great River or Grand River. Etienne Brulé, the first European to travel up the Ottawa River, passed by Ottawa in 1610 on his way to the Great Lakes. 3 years later, Samuel de Champlain wrote about the waterfalls of the area and about his encounters with the Algonquins, who had been using the Ottawa River for centuries. The early explorers and traders were later followed by many missionaries. The first maps of the area used the word Ottawa to name the river. Philemon Wright, a New Englander, created the first settlement in the area on the 7th of March 1800 on the north side of the river, across from Ottawa in Hull. He, with 5 other families and 25 laborers, set about to create an agricultural community called Wrightsville. Wright pioneered the Ottawa Valley timber trade by transporting timber by river from the Ottawa Valley to Quebec City. B-Town, Ottawa's original name, was founded as a community in 1826 when hundreds of land speculators were attracted to the south side of the river when news spread that British authorities were immediately constructing the northerly end of the Rideau Canal military project at that location. The following year, the town would soon be named after British military engineer Colonel John By, who was responsible for the entire Rideau Waterway construction project. The military purpose of the canal was to provide a secure route between Montreal and Kingston on Lake Ontario, bypassing the stretch of the St. Lawrence River bordering the state of New York that had left the British forces easily exposed to American enemy fire during the War of 1812. Colonel By set up military barracks on the site of today's Parliament Hill. He also laid out the streets of the town and created 2 distinct neighborhoods named Upper Town, west of the canal, and Lower Town, east of the canal, similar to its Upper Canada and Lower Canada namesakes. Historically, Upper Town was predominantly English-speaking and Protestant, whereas Lower Town was predominantly French, Irish and Catholic. B-Town's population grew to 1,000 as the Rideau Canal was being completed in 1832. B-Town encountered some impassioned and violent times in her early pioneer period that included Irish labour unrest that attributed to the Shiners. war from 1835 to 1845, and political dissension that was evident from the 1849 Stony Monday riot. In 1855, B-Town was renamed Ottawa and incorporated as a city. On New Year's Eve 1857, Queen Victoria, as a symbolic and political gesture, was presented with the responsibility of selecting a location for the permanent capital of the province of Canada. In reality, Prime Minister John A. Macdonald had assigned this selection process to the executive branch of the government, as previous attempts to arrive at a consensus had ended in deadlock. The Queen's choice turned out to be the small frontier town of Ottawa for two main reasons. Firstly, Ottawa's isolated location in a backcountry surrounded by dense forest far from the American border and situated on a cliff face would make it more defensible from attack. Secondly, Ottawa was located approximately midway between Toronto and Kingston and Montreal and Quebec City. Additionally, despite Ottawa's regional isolation, it had seasonal water transportation access to Montreal over the Ottawa River and to Kingston via the Rideau Waterway. By 1854, it also had a modern all-season B-Town and Prescott Railway that carried passengers, lumber and supplies the 82-kilometer distance to Prescott on the St. Lawrence River and beyond. The small size of the town, it was thought, would make it less prone to rampaging, politically motivated mobs, as had happened in the previous Canadian capitals. The government already owned the land that would eventually become Parliament Hill, which they thought would be an ideal location for building the Parliament buildings. Ottawa was the only settlement of any substantial size that was already located directly on the border of French-populated former Lower Canada and English-populated former Upper Canada, thus additionally making the selection an important political compromise. Queen Victoria made her Queen's choice very quickly just before welcoming in the new year. Starting in the 1850s, large sawmills began to be erected by entrepreneurs known as lumber barons, and these became some of the largest mills in the world. Rail lines erected in 1854 connected Ottawa to areas south and to the transcontinental rail network via Hull and Lachute, Quebec in 1886. At the time, this was the largest North American construction project ever attempted, and Public Works Canada and its architects were not initially well prepared. The Library of Parliament and Parliament Hill landscaping would not be completed until 1876. By 1885, Ottawa was the only city in Canada whose downtown street lights were powered entirely by electricity. In 1889, the government developed and distributed 60 water leases to mainly local industrialists, which gave them permission to generate electricity and operate hydroelectric generators at Chaudière Falls. Public transportation began in 1870 with a horse-car system, overtaken in the 1890s by a vast electric streetcar system that lasted until 1959. The Hull-Ottawa fire of 1900 destroyed two-thirds of Hull, including 40% of its residential buildings and most of its largest employers along the waterfront. The fire also spread across the Ottawa River and destroyed about one-fifth of Ottawa from the Le Breton Flats south to Booth Street and down to Dow's Lake. On 1 June 1912, the Grand Trunk Railway opened both the Chateau Laurier Hotel and its neighbouring downtown Union Station. On 3 February 1916, the centre block of the Parliament buildings was destroyed by a fire. The House of Commons and Senate was temporarily relocated to the then recently constructed Victoria Memorial Museum, now the Canadian Museum of Nature, until the completion of the new centre block in 1922. The centerpiece of which is a dominant Gothic Revival-styled structure known as the Peace Tower. The current location of what is now known as Confederation Square was a former commercial district, centrally located in a triangular area downtown. surrounded by historically significant heritage buildings which includes the Parliament buildings. It was redeveloped as a ceremonial centre in 1938 as part of the City Beautiful movement and became the site of the National War Memorial in 1939 and designated a National Historic Site in 1984. A new central post office was constructed in 1939 beside the War Memorial because the original post office building located on the proposed Confederation Square grounds had to be demolished. Ottawa's former industrial appearance was vastly altered by the 1950 Graber Plan. French architect-planner Jacques Graber was hired by then-Prime Minister Mackenzie King to design an urban plan for managing development in the National Capital Region to make it more aesthetically pleasing and thus more befitting a location that was the political centre of Canada. Graber's plan included the creation of the National Capital Greenbelt, the Parkway, the Queensway Highway system, the relocation of downtown Union Station to the suburbs, the removal of the streetcar system, the decentralization of selected government offices, the relocation of industries and removal of substandard housing from the downtown, and the creation of the Rideau Canal and Ottawa River pathways, to name just a few of its recommendations. In 1958, the National Capital Commission was established as a Crown corporation from the passing of the National Capital Act in order to implement the Graber Plan recommendations, which it successfully accomplished during the 1960s and 1970s. In the previous 50 years, other commissions, plans and projects had tried and failed to implement plans to improve the capital, such as the 1899 Ottawa Improvement Commission, the Todd Plan in 1903, the Holt Report in 1915, and the Federal District Commission established in 1927. In 1958, a new city hall opened on Green Island near Rideau Falls, where urban renewal had recently transformed this former industrial location into green space. Until then, City Hall had temporarily been located for 27 years at the Transportation Building adjacent to Union Station and now part of the Rideau Centre. In 2001, Ottawa City Hall moved back downtown to a relatively new building on 110 Laurier Avenue West that had been the home of the now-defunct Regional Municipality of Ottawa-Carleton. This new downtown location was very close to Ottawa's first and second city halls. Also included in this new City Hall complex was an adjacent 19th-century restored heritage building formerly known as the Ottawa Normal School. From the 1960s until the 1980s, the National Capital Region experienced a building boom. This was followed by large growth in the high-tech industry during the 1990s and 2000s. Ottawa became one of Canada's largest high-tech cities and was nicknamed Silicon Valley North. By the 1980s, Bell Northern Research employed thousands, and large federally assisted research facilities such as the National Research Council contributed to an eventual technology boom. The early adopters led to offshoot companies such as Newbridge Networks, Mittal and Corel. Ottawa's city limits had been increasing over the years, but it acquired the most territory on January 1, 2001. When it amalgamated all the municipalities of the Regional Municipality of Ottawa-Carleton into one single city. Regional Chair Bob Chiarelli was elected as the new city's first mayor in the 2000 municipal election, defeating Gloucester Mayor Claudette Kane. The city's growth led to strains on the public transit system and to bridges. On October 15, 2001, a diesel-powered light rail transit line was introduced on an experimental basis. This line, known today as the Trillium Line, was dubbed the O-Train and connected downtown Ottawa to the southern suburbs via Carleton University. The decision to extend the O-Train and to replace it with an electric light rail system was a major issue in the 2006 municipal elections, where Chiarelli was defeated by businessman Larry O'Brien. After O'Brien's election, transit plans were changed to establish a series of light rail stations from the east side of the city into downtown, and for using a tunnel through the downtown core. Jim Watson, who had been the last mayor of Ottawa prior to amalgamation, was re-elected in the 2010 election. In October 2012, City Council approved the final Lansdowne Park plan, an agreement with the Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group that will see a new stadium, increased green space, and housing and retail added to the site. In December 2012, City Council voted unanimously to move forward with the Confederation Line, a 12.5 km light rail transit line, to be fully operational by 2018. Geography. Ottawa is situated on the south bank of the Ottawa River and contains the mouths of the Rideau River and Rideau Canal. The older part of the city is known as Lower Town, and occupies an area between the canal and the rivers. Across the canal to the west lies Centretown and downtown Ottawa, which is the city's financial and commercial hub. As of 29 June 2007, the Rideau Canal, which stretches 202 kilometers to Kingston, Fort Henry and Four Martello Towers in the Kingston area, was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Located on a major, yet mostly dormant fault line, Ottawa is occasionally struck by earthquakes. Examples include a magnitude 5.2 earthquake on 1 January 2000, a magnitude 4.5 earthquake on 24 February 2006, a magnitude 5.0 earthquake on 23 June 2010, and a magnitude 5.2 earthquake on 17 May 2013. Ottawa sits at the confluence of three major rivers: the Ottawa River, the Gatineau River and the Rideau River. The Ottawa and Gatineau rivers were historically important in the logging and lumber industries, and the Rideau as part of the Rideau Canal system for military, commercial and, subsequently, recreational purposes. The Rideau Canal first opened in 1832, and is 202 kilometers in length. It connects the St. Lawrence River on Lake Ontario at Kingston, Ontario, to the Ottawa River near Parliament Hill. It was able to bypass the unnavigable sections of the Cataraqui and Rideau rivers and various small lakes along the waterway due to flooding techniques and the construction of 47 water transport locks. The Rideau River got its name from early French explorers who thought that the water falls located at the point where the Rideau River empties into the Ottawa River resembled a curtain. Hence they began naming the falls and river Rideau, which is the French equivalent of the English word for curtain. During part of the winter season, the Ottawa section of the canal forms the world's largest skating rink, thereby providing both a recreational venue and a 7.8 kilometers transportation path to downtown for ice skaters. Across the Ottawa River, which forms the border between Ontario and Quebec, lies the city of Gatineau, itself the result of amalgamation of the former Quebec cities of Hull and Aylmer together with Gatineau. Although formally and administratively separate cities in two separate provinces, Ottawa and Gatineau collectively constitute the National Capital Region, which is considered a single metropolitan area. One federal crown corporation, the National Capital Commission, or NCC, has significant land holdings in both cities, including sites of historical and touristic importance. The NCC, through its responsibility for planning and development of these lands, is an important contributor to both cities. Around the main urban area is an extensive green belt, administered by the National Capital Commission for Conservation and Leisure, and comprising mostly forest, farmland and marshland. Climate: Ottawa has a humid continental climate with 4 distinct seasons and is between zones 5A and 5B on the Canadian plant hardiness scale. The average July maximum temperature is 26.5 degrees Celsius. The average January minimum temperature is -14.8 degrees Celsius. Summers are warm and humid in Ottawa. Daytime temperatures are 30 degrees Celsius or higher are commonplace. Ottawa averages many days with humidex between 30 and 40 degrees Celsius annually. Snow and ice are dominant during the winter season. Ottawa receives about 224 centimeters of snowfall annually. Days above freezing and nights below -20 degrees Celsius both occur in the winter. Spring and fall are variable, prone to extremes in temperature and unpredictable swings in conditions. Hot days above 30 degrees Celsius have occurred as early as March or as late as October, although such events are unusual and brief. Annual precipitation averages around 940 millimeters. There are about 2,130 hours of average sunshine annually. Neighborhoods and outlying communities. Ottawa is bounded on the east by the United Counties of Prescott and Russell, by Renfrew County and Lanark County in the west, on the south by the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville and the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry, and on the north by the regional county municipality of Les Colonistes de l'Île and the city of Gatineau. Modern Ottawa is made up of 11 historic townships, 10 of which are from Carleton County and 1 from Russell. The city has a main urban area, but there are many other urban, suburban and rural areas within the modern city's limits. The main suburban area extends a considerable distance to the east, west and south of the centre, and it includes the former cities of Gloucester, Nepean and Vanier, the former village of Rockcliffe Park and the community of Blackburn Hamlet, the community of Orleans. The Kanata suburban area includes the former village of Stittsville to the southwest. Nepean is another major suburb which also includes Barhaven. There are also the communities of Manotick and Riverside South on the other side of the Rideau River, and Greeley, southeast of Riverside South. There are a number of rural communities that lie beyond the Greenbelt but are administratively part of the Ottawa municipality. Some of these communities are Burritts Rapids, Ashton, Fallowfield, Carrs, Fitzroy Harbour, Munster, Carp, North Gower, Metcalfe, Constance Bay, Osgood and Richmond. There are also a number of towns located within the federally defined National Capital Region but outside the City of Ottawa municipal boundaries. These include the urban communities of Almont, Carleton Place, Ombrun, Kemptville, Rockland, and Russell.